Hello future civil servants. So in today's video, we'll discuss and decode the economy part of GS3 of UPSC Mains 2023. Let's first discuss the syllabus of economy. It is divided into two parts. First is economic development and the second one is agriculture. In economic development, the UPSC tells us to cover Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. Inclusive growth and issues arising from it, government budgeting, land reforms in India, effects of liberalization on the economy, changes in industrial policy and their effects on industrial growth, infrastructure, investment models. And in agriculture, there's cropping patterns, there's irrigation, there's transport and marketing of agricultural produce and issues related concerns, e-technology, farm subsidies, MSP, PDS, that is public distribution system, buffer stocks and food security, and FPI, that is food processing industries. Now the reason behind discussing the syllabus is to find out if all the questions were from within the syllabus or there were any bouncer questions. So that is why I've discussed the syllabus with you, and we'll see if all the 8 questions that were asked in this year's economy paper, that is GS3's paper on economy, were from within the syllabus or from outside the syllabus. Let's first look at the trend. When we look at the trend, every year there's a question from agriculture. 2 to 3 questions are from agriculture, that is the average. This year there were 2 questions from agriculture. One was from industry, one was from reforms, then one was from cropping patterns, one from inclusive growth, one from Indian economy and employment. Okay, so in total there were 8 questions. When we look at the trend, every year there are 7 to 9 questions asked. Okay, so it carries a lot of weightage in your GS3 paper. Okay, almost around 50%, not 50, almost around 50%. So this year, there were 8 questions of 100 marks asked. Okay, so economy is a very, very important subject when we study GS3, and if you study it properly, there's a chance for you to boost your score in mains. Let's look at the questions. There were 8 questions asked, 4 10 markers and 4 15 markers, okay? These were the 8 questions and we'll discuss them one by one. Let's begin with the central theme. Now, why will we discuss the central theme? So what happens is, when you find out the central theme of every question, it will be easier for you to approach that question and not to divert from it. Okay, your answer will never divert to another dimension. It will always stay when you know on the central theme, on the central area of the question. So it is very important for you to first structure your answer. So first find out the central theme, then structure your answer as introduction, body and conclusion. First when you structure your answer properly, it will be very easy for you to write within the word limit, which is 150 and 250 words, because you have the content. It makes it very difficult to prioritize the content as well. So when you structure it and when you know the central theme, the key words of the question, it will be very easy for you to stick to the theme and stick to the area that is being asked in the question. The first question, let's read it. Faster economic growth requires increased share of manufacturing sector in the GDP, particularly MSMEs, that is micro, small, medium enterprises. Comment on the present policies of the government in this regard. So the keywords are manufacturing sector in GDP, MSMEs and the present policies, the current policies. So this question is static plus majorly current. Okay. So the central theme is economic growth and the role of MSMEs in the manufacturing sector and current policies. Now, second question, what is the status of digitalization in the Indian economy? Examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest improvement. This is digitalization. Okay. So in this, we'll discuss the digitalization in Indian economy. We'll discuss the challenges and we'll discuss the suggestions for improvement. How does e-technology help farmers in production and marketing of agricultural produce? So your central theme is e-technology. This is also within the syllabus. This is also within the syllabus. This is also within the syllabus. Then our fourth question is on land reforms, that is state the objectives and measures of land reforms in India. This is your keyword. And land ceiling policy on land holding. This is your another keyword that you need to focus on. These two are the central themes. So objectives and measures of land reforms, and effectiveness of land sealing policies. Now, our 11th question was structural unemployment. Most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. Examine the methodology adopted to compute unemployment in the country and suggest improvements. This is also current because we need to discuss the methodology. So, our central theme would be structural unemployment and the methodology used to compute it. Okay? Distinguish between care economy and monetized economy. How can care economy be brought into monetized economy? Through women empowerment. Okay? Now, this is about inclusive growth because we need to empower women as well. So, our central theme revolves around care economy, monetized economy, and how integrating the care economy into the monetized economy will empower women. So this is your central theme that you need to focus on. 13th question, explain the changes in cropping patterns in India in the context of changes in consumption patterns, which is demand, marketing conditions, versus supply. Okay. So both demand side factors and supply side factors we need to include in this answer. So our central theme revolves around the cropping pattern changes, consumption patterns, and marketing conditions. Okay. What are the direct and indirect subsidies to farm sector in India? So this part is static. And our keywords are direct and indirect subsidies, and discuss the issues raised by the World Trade Organization in relation to agricultural subsidies. So World Trade Organization, when you talk about this becomes current. Okay, so our central theme should be direct and indirect subsidies and issues raised by WTO. Okay, so this is the central theme. Once you figure out the central theme, it will be easier for you to approach the answer in a more effective manner. Let's discuss the questions one by one. First is, faster economic growth requires increased share of manufacturing sector in GDP, particularly of MSMEs. Okay, comment on the present policies of the government in this regard. So in this, first you'll discuss the MSME shares. Okay, so 1/3 of the gross value added. Then you can show the importance of MSMEs for our economic growth. Then contribute to the half of country's exports, 40% workforce involved. So what does this tell us? The importance, it is vital for job creation and it has a good export potential. So introduction will tell about MSME share and its importance. Okay. Now key policies. You need to mention the key policies. In this, you can talk about Make in India. You can talk about Startup India, ease of doing business, and so on. You can also talk about Atmanirbhar Abhiyan. Okay, then we need to discuss the challenges. Now, what are the challenges? They are infrastructure deficit or bottlenecks, okay, then there's a financing problem, MSMEs. These are the two major problems, and there will be more challenges as well. You can discuss as per your knowledge and the requirement. And then conclusion, government efforts in promoting manufacturing sector. You can give the example of RAMP, which was announced in this year's budget, that is raising and accelerating MSMEs performance program, which is a World Bank assisted central sector program. Okay, so this should be your approach while answering this question in 150 words. We've already we focused around the central theme, we focused around the keywords. So this makes your answer direct, to the point, and very precise. Okay. Also, when we talk about comment means you need to give an informed opinion using data, facts, and reasoning. This is the meaning of comment. Okay. Now the second question. Okay. Let's talk about the second question. Now I've already told you how to what should be your approach while answering these questions. From now on, like from question number 2 to the list of the questions, that are 7 questions left, I'll tell you just the approach of what should your approach have been while answering the mains questions. Okay. Let's talk about the introduction. First, the topic: what is the status of digitalization in the Indian economy? Examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest improvements. Now, when we talk about examine, we need to have an in-depth understanding. We need to showcase an in-depth understanding of the topic, causes, factors, effects. Okay. This is the meaning of examine. In introduction, you will tell about the digitalization and its relevance in the Indian economy using data. Okay. Then in the body, you need to tell about the current state of digitalization in India. You can explain digital in India, UPI, Aadhaar, rise of smartphones and internet use. You can emphasize on achieving a full digital economy and how that will help our economic growth. In development, you can talk about the challenges, which includes digital illiteracy, limited access to technology in rural areas because of which digital divide happens, and data privacy concerns and cybersecurity threats. In conclusion, because you've already discussed the challenges, you need to also discuss the solutions. So in conclusion, you can talk about expanding digital literacy programs, improving internet infrastructure in rural areas, cybersecurity measures, we need to enhance that, and promote data protection laws. This should be your approach to attempt the second question of economy. Third, how does e-technology help farmers in production and marketing of agricultural produce? Now, the keywords are e-technology, production, and marketing of agricultural produce. And explain. When we explain, we need our answer to be concise, clear. Okay? Focus on the how and why. When we explain, we do not talk about challenges. Okay? So now, in the introduction, you can talk about e-technology in agriculture and its growing significance. Then how it supports the farmers. In the body, we'll talk about how it supports the farmers in enhancing production. You can talk about it helps with farming techniques, real-time weather data for crop planning, and remote monitoring of farm activities. What I'm discussing right now is a broad view of how you should have approach to the question. You can use all the data and specific particular examples and evidences to support your answer and substantiate it. Enables farmers to access wider markets, track market prices in real time, connect directly with buyers through online platforms, because of which their profit increases and middlemen reduces. Specific examples, you can talk about Kisan Suvidha app, Bhuvan, that is ISRO's portal, sustainable seed technologies. Okay. In the conclusion, you need to be very positive and you need to you need to talk about the transformative role of e-technology in agriculture, benefiting farmers and the economy. This should have been your approach. Now you need to need as many examples. You need to use as many examples as you can to substantiate your argument, substantiate your information, because that will boost your marks. Question number 4. State the objectives and measures of land reforms in India. Discuss. First we'll discuss what you mean by discuss. When the question asks you to discuss, you need to discuss various dimensions, have a balanced viewpoint, and to have a balanced viewpoint you need to provide arguments and counter arguments. So in the introduction, you need to talk about the land reforms and importance in the context of India. In body, talk about the primary objectives of land reform, which is equitable land distribution, reduction of landlessness, and enhance agricultural productivity. To talk about the key measures, because we need to talk about the key measures as well: land redistribution, tenancy reforms, and land consolidation. Then you need to mention the two acts here: agricultural land ceiling. Okay, no. You need. Then we'll talk about the land ceiling holdings, okay, and how they seek to reduce the concentration of land ownership. Then you need to mention the acts, that is Agricultural Land Ceiling and Holding Act 1960 and State Abolition of Intermediaries Act, okay. Why? Because land ceiling promotes more equitable land distribution, reduces wealth disparities, potentially leads to increased agricultural efficiency. So we need to discuss the benefits and we need to discuss the challenges of land ceiling policy as well. In conclusion, discuss the impact of land ceiling regulation with a focus on how they contribute to the achievement of economic objectives within the broader context of land reforms. Okay, 11th question. Most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. Examine the methodology adopted to compute unemployment in the country and suggest improvements. Okay, examine. Again, you need to have an in-depth understanding. Of structural unemployment. In the introduction, explain structural unemployment and its prevalence in India. In body, why does this happen? Because of mismatched skills and job opportunities, rapid technology advancements, population growth, shift in industry, consumer preferences. What is the data that we use to compute unemployment? Census, NSSOs, and LFPR, that is labor force participation rate. Okay, what are the strengths of these methodologies? Regular data collection, sample-based service, and categorization by rural and urban areas. Talk about the weaknesses as well. Underreporting, exclusion of discouraged workers. What are discouraged workers? Discouraged workers are those who think that they do not have any opportunity to work in the economy. They think that their skills are not that, their skills will never fulfill the requirements of the economy, of the industry. So there's a mismatched skills and job opportunities gap. And because of which, what happens is they leave looking like they do not seek jobs. Those are discouraged workers. Improvement. How do we improve it? We need to integrate advanced data collection techniques, consider discouraged workers, and incorporate sector-specific data, especially informal sector. In conclusion, we need an enhanced methodology to accurately capture structural unemployment. Question number 12. Distinguish between care economy. What is care economy? Unpaid caregiving work, which includes your household work, child care, elder care, typically performed by family members. And monetized economy, which is a market-based sector, which is formal, where goods and services are traded for monetary compensation. In care economy, there's a lack of monetary reward, and because it relies more on social norms and family structures. In introduction, we'll talk about the concepts of care economy and monetized economy, emphasizing the significance for women's empowerment. Then we'll talk about care economy, monetized economy, and what is the problem. Then we'll talk about our second part is how can care economy be brought into monetized economy through women empowerment. So how can this be brought? By recognizing, valuing unpaid caregiving work through policy measures and including that in GDP calculations. We can empower women through integration, giving them economic opportunities within the monetized economy. For example, flexible work arrangements, that is work from home. Kudambashri program in Kerala, that is an example. So what are the challenges? We'll have to redefine general roles. We need to ensure there are decent working conditions for women. What is the conclusion? We need to understand, we need to tell the importance of recognizing and incorporating the care economy into monetized economy, because this will also promote gender equality and women empowerment. Question number 13. Explain the changes in cropping pattern in India. Again, explain. We've already discussed. Need to be clear, concise. Okay, focus on the keywords. So we'll discuss the cropping pattern. First, we need to discuss the relevance. It's important because diverse cropping pattern, it ensures food security, generates money for the farmers and increase agricultural output. Okay, in body, we will talk about changes in consumption patterns that impact cropping patterns. For example, shift towards nutrition crops, organic products, healthier oil, etc. These is demand side factors. Okay. Now these are supply side. For example, there's a market accessibility problem. There's fluctuation in prices. For example, the recent example is tomato fluctuation. So the supply side factors that impact farmers' crop decisions. Okay. Then we will give the conclusion about understanding that adjusting to cropping pattern changes is also crucial because it ensures food security, sustainable agriculture, and rural livelihoods. Okay. Now 14th. What are direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector in India? Discuss the issues raised by the WTO in relation to agricultural subsidies. Discuss. We have to give a balance point. Okay. So in an introduction, what we'll do is we'll talk about India's agricultural subsidies and their importance in strengthening the farm sector. We'll talk about in the body, we'll talk about direct subsidies and indirect subsidies. Direct means, which are financial assistance which is given directly to the farmers. For example, MSPs, that is minimum support prices, input subsidies, and in indirect subsidies, we'll talk about irrigation water, power, HYV, that is high yield varieties. Then we'll have to talk about the significance of subsidies because it helps in price stability, guaranteeing food security, and supporting farmer livelihoods. Now WTO, the issues raised by WTO. So there is a precise limit which every country who has signed an agreement, that is the agreement on agriculture, then they have to adhere to that limit, and above that limit they cannot provide subsidies in their country. So apparently WTO has concerns that India has exceeded that limit and in providing MSPs and input subsidies. So this is the concern. We need to talk about that, elaborate on it. And what is a balanced viewpoint? We need to strike a balance between national interest and commitments under international trade agreements. Now, when you signed an agreement, you cannot just, go against it. And you also need to take care of your national interest as well. So we need to find a balance. We need to find a middle ground. When you're thinking about a national interest and also about the agreement that we've signed. These are our 8 questions, and this should have been your approach to answer. Now, have confidence in your approach and have confidence on what you've written, and I'm sure that you've done great. And if you are still preparing for the exam for the next year, for the next attempt, then according to me, your approach, if you are an economic student, begin with NCRTs, just revise them. If not an economic student, then begin with 9 to 12th. Newspaper, daily newspaper is very important because you need to substantiate your data, substantiate using data. So you could either refer to the Hindu or Indian Express. Okay, so this is very important. Now, monthly current affair magazines. You cannot completely rely on them. But you can use them for revision. Okay. Now, besides this, you have your class notes. These are your standard books. Okay. Standard. Now, there are more advanced books as well available in the market. You can use them as per your need and requirements. So there's class notes, and then economic survey, very important. Union budget. This will give you all the data you need to substantiate your content, your answer, your arguments. Okay, so I hope this will help you. And as per my analysis, the paper was comfortable for the students who have got a good grasp in economy. And even if you don't, just believe that economy is a dynamic subject. It is not a difficult subject, it's a dynamic subject. It is a bit technical, it is dynamic, but it's not difficult. Once you understand all the concepts, it will be easier for you to understand all the newspaper articles, all the data and everything. You just need to be regular, be consistent while studying economy, and give yourself that space, believe in yourself that you, even if you don't understand a concept, read it 4 times, 5 times, take help from your mentors, take help from your teachers, and it will get really easy if you study it consistently. So it wasn't that bad. This year's paper was still doable, it was comfortable, and it was within the syllabus. There was no bouncer question. And if you have been regular with your newspapers, if you have been regularly studying your concepts, I think you will be able to do good in this paper, in this year's paper. So you know the trend, you know the questions, you know the approach now. Find the central theme, then write the structure, introduction, body, and conclusion around the central theme. Find the keywords. Be very particular about the directives, that is examine, discuss, and everything, and then you'll be able to approach the question in the very effective manner, very efficient manner. So I hope this helps. Thank you.